Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Did Raw Suck This Week, the podcast. I, as always, am your host, Dale Curtis, from sophisticatingsandwiches.blogspot.com. And before we get into the show, there's a couple news items I wanted to discuss. The first one is one you probably all saw coming. The Seth Rollins incident, I guess we'll call it. I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I've ranted about it on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. Both him and his fiancée were in the wrong. I just hope it doesn't hurt his career. That's all I have to say about that. The other point I will make is that Seth Rollins is a gorgeous man-beast, but we all knew that. The second story that I wanted to get to is that from what I hear, the word on NXT is that it will no longer be filming just at Full Sail University. From what I understand, they will be going and touring the country. I, for one, don't think this is a good idea. It's going to increase costs. It's going to increase expenditure from the wrestlers. It's going to increase wear and tear on their bodies. They're not going to draw the crowds they do at Full Sail that understand their product the way that crowd does. I think overall it's a bad idea. I don't know if they'll ever come back to doing it the way they've been doing it, but overall I think what they're about to do with NXT is a bad idea. Alright, with that out of the way, let's jump right into Raw, and let's talk about the opening segment a bit. When Reigns came out at first, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I noticed a very loud, very John Cena-style mixed reaction from the crowd. And then when Bryan came out, it was a very not mixed reaction. It's the exact same reaction we've been getting from crowds when Daniel Bryan comes out for the last 2 years, 3 years or so. The crowd adores him. It's beautiful. And Bryan is smart because he uses that here. He tries and put over Roman Reigns. Talks about, what a great guy he is, blah, 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 all that shit. Problem is the crowd doesn't give a damn. The crowd's not buying it. They just want to see Bryan. They don't give a crap about Roman at this point. Roman has actually kind of started to win me over. And I don't know if it's so much Roman or is it's the writing team. Because before they were scripting him sort of like, I referred to him as Hawaiian John Cena. It was a very John Cena style of promo, and it was boring as hell, and the fans hated it. And they've kind of switched gears with him. He does more of this, like, one-liner action movie style, I'm going to kick your ass style. Almost more of a Steve Austin style of delivery, and I think that's a great idea. I think they need to not make him Hawaiian John Cena if he's ever going to fucking survive. And then we got mid-segment, while Bryan and Roman are talking, the Authority came out. And they derailed the entire segment. They didn't come out and start talking about Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at Fastlane. No. They came out, they started pimping the network. Triple H talked about Sting. It was almost entirely pointless. They could have done their bit in 2 minutes because they came out to make a match between Daniel Bryan and Reigns versus Kane and the Big Show. That's all they were out there for. But it was like a 5 or 6 minute steaming turd on top of what was actually a really decent segment between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. I'll get to the Authority more later, though. During the match, it was actually a good match with Bryan and Reigns versus Kane and the Big Show. You didn't get to see Kane and Big Show's age as much because they were smart here and put him in a tag team so they can tag out and rest. And so Big Show's not stumbling around holding the top rope the entire match. So it actually ended up being a really good tag team match. At the end, Reigns was about to get choke slammed, and Bryan tried to save him, accidentally kicked him in the face. And the thing that blew my mind is that they had Roman Reigns shove Bryan, which, if you were listening, instant heel move. It was not even the people who were cheering Reigns before liked that. The crowd just turned on him there. He won him back later in the show, but they really turned on him there. I want to take a moment, just out of the schedule, to talk about Stephanie McMahon a little, because you don't see her a lot the rest of the show, which is a godsend. Stephanie McMahon I've ranted about, and I'd like to amend some statements I've already made. Stephanie McMahon, as a character, is a fantastic heel. I hate her. everybody hates her. Even the people who like Triple H hate her. The problem is that she's never going to get any sort of significant physical comeuppance like you should as a good heel like that. Even managers like Paul Heyman, they'll get heat on themselves, but eventually they'll get the crap kicked out of them. The last time we saw that with Stephanie was with Vicky Guerrero when she was on her way out and threw her into a pool full of mud or pudding or some crap. It was completely pointless, and it continues to be pointless because Triple H might get his comeuppance. Other members of the Authority might get their comeuppance. Stephanie's not going to because they're never really. I mean, yeah, she got slapped by, I think it was Brie one time. Woohoo. She does nothing but draw heat off of other wrestlers, and I'm not a fan of what she does other than the fact that if she were a female wrestler who could still get her comeuppance, fantastic heel. The second match we got was Ryback versus Rollins, which was, it was a good match, but if you watched it, it kind of looked like Seth Rollins was wrestling a giant rock the entire time. Ryback just kind of stood there while Rollins bumped around him, and that makes for a great match. Like I said in my column, I would watch Rollins versus a giant rock for 10-15 minutes and probably give it a good review. He curb stomps Ryback at the end, which makes him look awesome. And they've done and I hope that this continues given the current circumstances, but recently they have done a great job of making Seth Rollins look awesome and investing a lot in him, which is why I think this won't hurt his career. I think they'll brush past it and wait till it blows over. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk about that, so I'm not going to talk about that. Another piece of news is that Sheamus is returning. I said this too. I really, really hope they don't bring him back as goofy Uncle Sheamus. If he comes back and yells, "Fella," I give up. I give up. This is a man who needs to be a definitive giant monster heel. In that role, he is golden. Trying to make him into some, fun, weird hat-wearing, storytelling Irish Uncle Sheamus, it's not doing it for me. It wasn't doing it for anybody else, and I don't think it'll do it if he comes back this way. But it doesn't look like they're going to do that. It looks like they're going to bring him back as kind of the angry Celtic warrior type thing, which is smart. Next match we got was Paige versus Brie Bella, which was surprisingly good. I expected this to be a pile of shit because I don't like either of the wrestlers, but it was a surprisingly good match. The one thing I'm going to harp on and complain about here is the name of Paige's new finisher, the Rampage. Stop it. Stop it. You've got the PTO, the Paige Tap Out, the Paige Turner, and now the Rampage. Stop it. Even Trish Stratus did it for one move. I don't understand why every move you have to have your name in it. And it's a bad pun. But other than that, good match from two mediocre divas. The next thing we got was the segment where Rusev and Lana came out to honor Cena, which was not a bad segment. They played, it was kind of old school. They played the video of Cena, and it started out like they were going to, show his career highlights and him being awesome. And then it was just a bunch of clips of him getting the snot kicked out of him, which I love watching. So I vote yes anytime that happens. And then Cena came out, and they did some good banter back and forth, which was ruined when Cena implied that Lana had testicles. And then they brawled. And, like I said, it's simple. It's nothing exciting or groundbreaking, but it worked. It helped build towards their story. It got me interested. It was something. Next, we got Dolph Ziggler versus Bray Wyatt. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself that I haven't taken the time to rant about Dolph Ziggler that I thought I would. I'm one of the huge Dolph Ziggler fans, and I am really happy that most recently he has learned to tone down his style and slow himself down and have much more methodical matches, because the rate he was going at before with the crazy bumps and the fast pace, it was just going to wear him down way too young. Teaming up with Bray probably helps, because Bray Wyatt is one of those guys that knows how to slow a match down, work things, make it about the characters, make it look like a signature match you wouldn't see from anyone else, and he doesn't put all that much complicated shit into it. It's usually a very simple match when Bray Wyatt's out there, but it highlights the characters and fighting styles in a way other people don't seem to know how to do with the WWE style. And so, honest to God, I would sit and watch Dolph Ziggler and Bray Wyatt all day. You could give me that day after day, night in and night out, and I will watch it. You will never on this podcast hear me complain about Dolph Ziggler and Bray Wyatt fighting. The next thing we got was Paul Heyman, the Jewiest manager in the history of professional wrestling, and Brock Lesnar. And Heyman came out, and I love it, because he put over everybody here. He didn't just put over Brock. He did a great job of saying, yeah, Daniel Bryan's awesome, and Roman Reigns is the next big star, but my client will chew both of them up and swallow them. It wasn't a matter of putting the opponent down, like a lot of wrestlers do. It was a matter of, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're really good. My client's better. And nobody, I don't think anybody, in recent memory anyway, does that as well as Paul Heyman does. Paul Heyman will make you believe that everybody on the roster is great, but his client is that much better. And that's the beauty of Paul Heyman. That's why I love Paul Heyman. Next thing we got was the Dust Brothers, Goldust and Stardust versus A New Day. Don't you just love it when WWE celebrates Black History Month? And it was a short match. There was no point to it. It was just a vehicle for the Rhodes Brothers to tease tension. And I know I complained about it last week, but they actually did a better job of it this week. Cody going nuts with the "Don't Call Me Cody" thing and shoving Goldust. It puts across the crazy character a lot better and gives Stardust a reason to continue, because let's be honest, this is Cody Rhodes' best character. It gives Stardust a reason to continue beyond the Goldust Stardust tag team and feud. And so for that reason I like it. I'm not crazy that the feud is happening. I think they waited too long on it, but it'll be a good match and I'll enjoy it, so I can't really complain too much. Next we got a segment where Triple H called out Sting yet again, as if anyone actually believed he was going to show up. In the middle of this, Sting cuts in with his creepy video package with crows and I'm Sting and it's all ominous and shit. And then the lights go out and a blue light comes on, and I don't know if it's NWO Sting or fake Sting, or a fake Sting, because they couldn't get the real Sting to show up, was in the ring and attacked Triple H and then disappeared. From what I understand, that was Heath Slater, and if that was Heath Slater, that's awesome. But the fake Sting fooled nobody. It looked cheesy and hokey. I don't know what the point of it was. I didn't enjoy this segment at all. I thought it was bad. I thought it's not needed. I don't want this match to happen. I don't enjoy Triple H. He was cut short here, granted, but I still don't enjoy his mic work at all. The creepy video package was stale, and it was everything we've ever seen from Sting. Just generic, vague, ooh, I'm gothic, isn't it creepy style bullshit. And it's just not fun. We got an announcement a little while after that apparently John Cena has scratched his cornea. That's right, the lamest injury excuse for a loss angle ever going into Fastlane. John Cena has scratched his cornea, and that's how Rusev is going to beat him. There it is. So, have fun with that. Next thing we got was the Usos versus Tyson Kidd and Antonio Cesaro. This is another matchup I could watch for a while. It's going to get old because they're going to run it into the ground like they always do with tag teams. But the Usos versus Kidd and Cesaro is good. There was a lot of focus on this bubbling tension, I guess, between the talented Funkadactyl and Natalya. And I love Natalya, so anything that puts Natalya on my television is good. I just didn't think you needed to take away from the match to do it. But they did. That's why I'm not booking WWE. Next, we found out that Rikishi will be the next entrant into the WWE Hall of Fame. And this is great. I've actually gotten messages from people since they announced it, pretty much asking me, why the hell does Rikishi deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? And they didn't clear that up with a video package, because all they showed you was clips of him being Rikishi. And they didn't show you clips of him as, one of the Samoan SWAT team, I believe it was called, or one of the Samoan tag teams forever ago. They didn't show you clips of him as, I think it was the Sultan. when he wore the masks back in the day. He's been with WWE forever. And he's worked very hard behind the scenes when he wasn't wrestling. Rikishi is one guy who you may not understand, but he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And the fact that he's the father of the Usos definitely helps. The next thing we got Mizdow versus Sin Cara, which, was good. Miz was fantastic here. This is I actually was entertained by the Miz for the first time in forever. He made Damian set up his little director's chair, and he actually took a mic. And during the match, he would do things like yell and stop him from imitating him, doing a stunt double bit or doing any of the Miz's moves. And he demanded that Sandow bring him water during this, and just things like that. And it was really brilliant. And I think this whole feud's going to do more, even if Miz loses, is going to do more for the Miz than it does for Damian Sandow, because Miz has found his character here. He has really started to find himself and understand who his character is, which was something I've been waiting for since he started. Because I'll bitch about Miz, but I was a fan when he first started. He's just now finding out who his character is. And so it's going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it, even if they are waiting a little long to pull the trigger on the feud. Next thing we got is Curtis Axel coming out and doing another one of his Axelmania bits. He cut a short promo, and then he just started yelling Axelmania over and over, which doesn't do much for his credibility. Just kind of makes him look like a crazy guy. And out came Ambrose, and they had a match, and it was a decent match, not real long. Ambrose beats him, obviously. I don't know what they're doing with Curtis Axel. I don't understand it, but like I said last week, expect to see him get his pink slip at any point here, unless he somehow magically grabs one of these mythical brass rings they keep talking about. Then Ambrose went all nuts. He was like, "Oh, Wade Barrett, I want a title shot." I'm paraphrasing. Obviously, his promo was far better than that. And Wade Barrett comes on with his BNZ setup, which I love. Much like a lot of people, I love the BNZ setup. The scrolling headlines at the bottom are hilarious. Wade Barrett's great in this bit. I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know where you even start to go with this kind of a character, but it's vague enough that I think you can carry it somewhere. So yeah, I'm excited. I like the BNZ setup. I'm excited for Ambrose versus Barrett. That's going to be a hell of a match. Anyone with an internet connection could tell you that. Last thing we get the main event, which is Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns versus all of Team Corporate Ministry. The Authority. It's just another fucking... I can't stand the Authority angle at this point. It's overdone. I'm tired of it. I think the general wrestling public is tired of it. That being said, decent handicap match. It got about as clusterfucky as you'd thought it would. We got to see Eric Rowan for the first time this week because him, Ryback, and Ziggler all came down because apparently we all can't stop reliving Survivor Series. So yeah, it was, and then you get the tension between Bryan and Reigns to end the show, which is a story that was told over the course of the show very well. I'm quite happy with it. I think I said it in my column. I was really happy with this show. I feel like for once, WWE is actually back on the right track. They're starting to click. They're not scrambling to try and please the fans. They've gotten the storyline worked out. It's actually well written. I was very pleased by the show. I couldn't find a lot to complain about, other than Stephanie and obviously the commentary, which is repugnant. The commentary team, I can't talk enough about how much I hate this commentary team. They detract from everything. They make themselves the stars. I am amazed anybody can get over in the current WWE climate with the announcers the way they are and with management's attitude towards pushing a star and then pulling them back immediately. I don't understand how anybody gets over. Other than that, other than those giant flaws, no, those are relatively small things this week. Other than that, it was an entertaining show. There was a lot of wrestling. If you don't like wrestling, this was not the one for you. But I really enjoyed it, and the wrestling was good for the most part. I can't think of really a bad match that wasn't just some short, pointless match, and even those weren't bad. The segments were halfway entertaining. So yeah, overall, this Raw did not suck. So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. You can find my writing, as always, at sophisticatingsandwiches.blogspot.com. Keep an eye out, too, because this week I am starting my piece-by-piece critical review of the Bible. That shouldn't get me in any trouble. Thank you very much for listening to my ranting, wrestling fans. As always, I will be back next week. And just remember, it's a show. Have fun and watch it. Enjoy NXT Rival. Love you guys. Night.